Well, it's gonna chill out first. Do you know what the legs?
So I'm gonna gesture you guys for names, just so it's not like awkward.
Alright, so
You guys first, so
I think I'll.
it goes this way and I'm last. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
In 5,
Oh.
4.
Hi guys, and welcome to Youth Radio Live. This is episode 5, and today we'll be talking about the Black identity in media. I'm Michael Atang, and I'm 19.
I'm Molly Dandridge, and I'm 17.
I'm Isaiah Richardson, and I'm 17.
I'm Abby Imperial, and I'm 22.
So this is a big topic, so we're going to try and focus on the aspects of media in our society today. So we're going to be talking about TV, news, movies, and music. And so Isaiah's going to get us started with music.
Why does one artist's choice and how they promote themselves affect so much of Black identity?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it has to do with how it is that these artists are like getting their publicity. It's like all about their audience because that's what makes them popular.
I think what immediately comes to mind for me is just Beyonce, because it seems like she carries herself pretty well just in all facets of life, and everyone, like, her demographics is not just Black people. It's like everyone, she's like a hardcore feminist, like feminists rally behind her, just like everyone, like no one seems to like really dislike Beyonce. So I think that is really powerful. What else?
You guys think? What about you, Abby? You think anything?
Okay.
For sure. Do you have another question or?
Oh, yeah. How much does Black music affect our understanding of Blackness?
I mean, I think it has a lot to do with it because, I remember we were talking earlier and we were talking about how, hip hop has kind of become a really big mainstream genre.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, invented, of course, by, Black people in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's generally hard to like narrow down, like to see or to say like whether or not music reflects like all facets of Black reality, because there's so much, like so many aspects of it. But generally speaking, I think sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Like there's like a famous quote by Ice Cube, and he says that our art is a reflection of our reality, and like whether or not that like people are comfortable with the art or like okay with it, I guess that's really important, because like even though he was talking about like some really controversial things at the time, like things that still pertain to today's society, I think that is really powerful, and like that doesn't always happen. Like a lot of the music now, it seems like it's pretty glamorized, or it has something to do about like, oh, like drugs or turning up or whatever. I mean, and that does like probably reflect some aspects of the Black community, like, but it's not everything, like there are some like systematic problems, there are some like, like it's more deep than that. So yeah, and not everyone touches on it.
How does the music industry affect Black womanhood and Black manhood?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, I think it has a lot to do with it, because they're the ones that they pay for the advertising. They pay for the record to like even be made in the first place.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of like a deep question, but some people just follow what they see, so depending on what's being put out in the music, people will follow. And a lot of the times in hip-hop, like Molly said, it's kind of glamorized, so it talks about like turning up and things like that. It talks about like guys having a lot of money, cars, things like that. And I think it affects how like certain people react to it because some guys feel like they have to have a lot of money and fast cars or they're not successful. So I think it contributes in that way.
Yeah, I think it also like contributes to the fact that like people see that as something to aspire to rather than
that's true.
like I don't know, something perhaps more attainable. So I feel like that might also like contribute to like the systematic issues. So
Yeah.
You never hear a song about someone's like working class life.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Going to the store and working for,
studying.
sure, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it is, but
Yeah.
not often nowadays.
Yeah, not a top 50. Good. Yeah.
Next question on
Yeah.
social. Okay, so for social media, how do you guys feel about people using Black images in memes and gifs?
I mean, I guess like, your first instinct is to like laugh at the last time you've like seen a meme or whatever. But, that's not always like a good thing. It's funny, the first, 3 times you get a meme of like, some funny some funny Martin meme or something like that. But like, sometimes that ends up becoming, what you're, expected to act like until to the point where it's just like, oh, we're expected to be loud. We're expected to, sip tea whenever somebody, does something. I mean, like people know, what memes are out there and what they are perpetuating.
Yeah, I think it also kind of contributes to like the whole image of like Black people being like the fun-loving, like kind of misguided, like funny, but like, just for entertainment sort of thing, which has been like a problem in American society. But I think that also somewhat contributes to it. Like I get that it's a joke and I get that it's funny, but like I think that we do have to be cognizant of like what it does perpetuate.
Yeah. I kind of feels like it makes people stereotype Black people and maybe not take them as seriously. They just think that like all Black people are comedians or actors or athletes. So I think it affects us in that way.
Yeah, I guess I feel like if the finger wasn't being pointed with memes, though, it wouldn't, be that bad.
I also think that like people mostly use it because of like the reactions that it might seem like a little over exaggerated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Next question is, how do Black people communicate using social media?
I mean, I think we do it just like, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what just comes to mind for me is just like the natural hair community and like the natural hair like Instagram pages.
Yeah.
Like and like the like if you like go on Instagram and you see like, oh, Black families or Black hair, or Black beautiful women. That sounds kind of weird, but like yeah, sort of that sort of thing kind of just immediately comes in mind. It's kind of like a community. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so next question. So we've seen a lot of Black people and stories on screen. Which ones have had an impact on you?
I mean, for me, like, what a positive example I could think of is, I can't remember what movie it is. I feel terrible about it because it's like a big movie that, everyone should know about. But it has Lawrence Fishburne, and he gives this, like, or maybe it's Cuba Gooding, but it's this monologue about, like, the corner stores and whatnot, like how there's, like, a corner store on every corner and, like, inner city like neighborhoods, but like not everyone else's. And I don't know, that was kind of I'd like to see that more, and I don't think I see that too often. Every once in a while, I can like do a good comedy with a bunch of Black people in it. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah, definitely.
We can be funny too.
Yeah, it doesn't.
We
like,
can
it's
have
not
fun.
bad.
It's like you just we're not clowns.
Yeah, yeah.
Shouldn't be doing all the work.
Yeah, I definitely say for me, it's definitely Sam from Dear White People, just because she's like this cool, woke, like intellectual, like young Black woman, and like she thrives in like an academic sort of environment, but she doesn't like she doesn't feel as though she needs to like act white in order to like thrive in that sort of environment, and she's like unapologetically herself. And I think like for me that really resonated, and like it kind of gave me permission to do the same sort of subconsciously. So I think that's really important.
For me, I'll probably have to say like The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith and his son, because it was kind of deep. Like, it was a single father, like, trying to raise his kids. Didn't always have, like, food or a place to stay. Didn't have, like, the best circumstances, but he persevered and always tried to lead a good example for his son. And I felt like that was something real that doesn't really get talked about too much. So.
Yeah. Okay. Next, or did you want to say anything?
I was gonna say, I forgot. He's like the main character of Moonlight.
Mahershala Ali, that guy, or is he the boy?
The boy.
Oh, the boy. Yeah.
Yeah, because pretty much like the movie is about like him living in like, in I'd say like a bad neighborhood where he grew up with like a mother who was addicted to drugs, and he was also trying to like come out of the closet of like being gay, which is like really like rare in like stories. I just really love that movie because it like stand out.
Nice. All right. Next question. Have you ever experienced a non-Black person making assumptions about Blackness because of what they've seen on TV?
I mean, I've definitely like encountered it. I don't know if it was from a movie. Like, I mean, I've had people like totally like cross the street because you know they're afraid to get robbed, or like they asked to touch their hair. I used to have dreads, and oh my god, like if I had a dime for every time, you know. But like, you know, surprisingly enough, like not from a movie, but I've definitely seen movies address it, and I think that's something that's good for you know, to expose that.
Yeah, nothing like immediately comes to mind either of like someone saying something really terrible, and then for me just to be like, what? But I mean, I'm sure like, I mean, it's obviously definitely like impacted things on a more subconscious
Definitely.
scale. So, yeah. Anyone else?
For sure. I think I have the next questions. What do you think of the way that the news reports on people of color?
I feel like most news can portray as Black people as like a negative outcome.
That's true.
Like it, in comparison of like towards like white people, they're like more like said as like positive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I honestly am kind of like really offended by it, honestly. Like it's, you know, to the point where I don't even want to read the news. Because, like, I mean, it's just crazy how much, you know, evidence we have of some of the things that, like, happen, and how afraid people are to really just, you know, to address it. They take, like, you know, someone gets shot in the head through a car. You know, you see that, how could you forget it? It's so traumatizing. But they're just like, you know, the boys at party got into accident, and it's just like, what the hell happened? Like, you already know what happened.
Yeah, the difference, like, I even, like, wrote some titles down, like, this is according to Huffington Post, and it's Montgomery's latest homicide victim had history of narcotics abuse, and like tangles with the law, and this is about like a Black victim, and then versus a white perpetrator. The white perpetrator's title was Santa Barbara shooting suspect was soft-spoken, positive, and a gentleman, ex-principal says. So that's just one example, but
That's
pretty terrible.
That also reminded me of that terrible like church massacre that happened with the shooting.
Yeah, like the one in...
I I forgot where.
I think it was South Carolina.
Yeah. And then they like portrayed him as like mentally ill or something.
Yeah.
Like, why does the description matter? You know, as soon as it's like someone of color, you know, it's not just black people. There's, you know.
But if it was the other way around, say if the shooter was a black person, they would like label him as like a thug or a murderer.
You can even take like Sandy Hook for example. Obviously, you know, the guy went in and he, you know, that was, you know, more transparent, you know, but not, you know, in other cases.
Yeah, definitely.
And our next question is, what do you think of the way the news uses people of color as sources? So like how they, you know, interview, you know, they'll go to the site and they'll interview somebody and they'll pick somebody out of the crowd who was a witness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, that kind of gets under my skin too a little bit, because I mean, it's even like, it was even kind of addressed on, I don't know who keeps up with Orange is the New Black, but they had this whole thing where it's like they are trying to make these demands in the prison, and somebody had been like killed in the prison, but like, you know, they try and make that statement, and like they actually just made like a meme about it pretty much. But as soon as like and then as soon as like the famous inmate is like they, some crazy thing happened, and then it was just like all over the news and everybody came out.
Yeah, and everyone cared.
And I thought I was just like, wow, like how accurate.
Yeah, like all of these like news accounts of like, I mean, granted, like they didn't really, I mean, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of like the news accounts of like people who are like acting like very like, I don't know, like very out there and stuff like that, they tend to be like a music video or like a loop or like a meme or, you know, and it's just kind of like, oh God. Like everything, well, the one thing that always comes to mind is like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Like the fact that their like intro to the TV show is like someone doing that, like that exact same thing, like is just so ridiculous. Like it's just so bad. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Molly. I watched this interview on CNN with Charles Ramsey, the black guy who rescued the 3 kidnapped white women, and like the way they reported and asked him questions in the interview, they didn't ask many questions, so like they paid more attention to like his reactions than his words. They just pretty much like asked him like, oh, where are you coming from? And then he said, I was coming from McDonald's, and they focused on that more importantly than him rescuing the girls, and that turned into like a funny clip or video that people made jokes about. So I don't think that is taken seriously when the news interviews black people. It's taken more as like a joke, like meant to be funny, not too serious, or it's kind of like a TV show, you know, something to just watch.
Yeah, I feel like that even like touches on like who they like actually pick up to be the witness, you know.
Yeah.
You have people in these neighborhoods where it happens, like these neighborhoods don't come out of nowhere, they've been there for years. You have old people that like live there and that know the neighborhood for like, you know, people could give you like a whole story on like what the neighborhood's like. This never happens, this isn't normal, like this, you know, I feel like those people have way more, people who actually live in the neighborhood. And like, I mean, Charles Ramsey did live in the neighborhood, and he is an amazing source, honestly, because he saved the white woman.
Yeah.
Gee, like, give him credit. Yeah. But just definitely getting credible sources, you know? I mean, that's how we, you know, like, have engaging debates and educational debates, is we, like, have reliable sources, not sources who are just gonna, like, make a meme, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of, like, you know, coming up on the end, so I'm gonna move on to our last question, our universal question. Should we be responsible for the media we pay attention to and like how it impacts, you know, our identity? I know, you know, we're the generation that enjoys all this, so like how are we responsible for all that?
I definitely think we're responsible, like even though it may be tempting to just kind of be like, oh, like no one will like ever care, like I'm not gonna really make that much of an impact, like my friends like mean well, like they're not terrible people. I think it's easy to kind of fall back into that mentality, but like just speaking up and like understanding like the fact that like even though it might be like on a really small scale, like it's still worth trying to do. Yeah.
I mean, I think like all of us can like I was saying before, like we can all pull up the last meme we sent somebody.
Yeah.
We all indulge, you know, it's kind of how we you know, it's how we grieve, it's how we handle pain, and that's totally fine. But I think the difference with us is, you know, I think we could separate that from that, and I think that's something that other people struggle with. People who make it struggle with. Some of them even get paid, you know, to do that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what other people can do, what we can do sometimes, you know, what other people can do sometimes is just, you know, really realize it, address it. You can enjoy it, sure. You know, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. This is America, but you know, if we can at least, you know, take a second to make that difference, you know?
Yeah, just be mindful of the fact that like we know like at least to like a greater extent that a lot of other people do, like the realities of it, and like basically like we have the ability to like differentiate reality versus like whatever's on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook at the moment. So yeah.
Anything else? All right. Well, that's going to conclude our roundtable. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was the last episode of our first season, so definitely make sure you guys comment, you know, topics, something you'd like to talk about. If you're related to a certain point, you know, talk about it in the comments. Don't fight, please. I've had enough of that. But thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye. Felicia.
Is that it?
Okay.